Hi everyone, it's me, Tim. Today I want to talk about taking games seriously. I actually want to answer a question from Reykjavik, although I'm wondering if that's Reykjavik, asks, can games be taken too seriously? And my short answer is, yeah, sure, anything can be taken too seriously. But I want to make a longer answer than that. I almost just wrote yes, and as a comment, but I want to make a longer answer because first of all, you're asking me. There's very little I take seriously. Usually on anything, I'm willing to concede and go, okay. But to make my answer clearer, I love when people deep dive into the lore and the setting and the mechanics of my games. In fact, when we're making it, that's often we're thinking about people doing that. We want people to do that. It's. I remember turning to Leonard Borarsky at one point. I forget what game. It was probably Fallout or Arcanum. And I said, "Are people going to get this?" It was something subtle, deep in the game, and he went, "The right people will get it." Which means occasionally we put things in thinking this is only for the people who deep dive. When I've talked about writing dialogues and how I hate lore dumps, where you're talking to someone and there's pages of dialogue you have to get through and you're just tapping and your character's going, tell me more, yeah. I hate that. We used to shove lore dumps like that into cinematics or books or computer terminals so you could read it if you wanted it. If you want to deep dive, it's there for you to do so, but you don't have to. Because I also get people who just play games for fun. There are a lot of games that I play just for fun. I'm not taking them very seriously. I'm not learning all the lore. I'm just having fun. Maybe it's based on an IP I already know, or it's just got fun mechanics and I'm just having fun enjoying the game. So I'm not going to deep dive into it. But I love when people do, and I love when people talk online about it. I'm indebted, like every other game developer, to people who make wikis on games that connect all the stories and the lore and the creatures and the spells and everything. Because often, by the time the game ships, well, within a few months of the game shipping, that wiki is probably more detailed and more used than anything we created in-house. My only problem with people who take games too seriously is when they get nasty about it. And you know what I'm talking about. These are people who belittle others who don't know the lore or who are just playing to enjoy it, which is perfectly fine. I really hate it when those people exclude the others. Like, you're not a real gamer. You're not a hardcore gamer because you don't know the lore backwards and forwards. Who cares? My rule for this is really simple. Enjoy things that you enjoy and enjoy them the way you want to. Because guess what? If other people don't enjoy it the way you enjoy it, that does not harm you in the slightest. Just keep on enjoying it the way you enjoy it. Let them enjoy it differently or even let them dislike it. It's why I don't like it when people, when they don't like something, they make hate videos and stuff. It's like, you know what? Just move on. I'm a big fan of the vote with your money because all the arguments I've seen against vote with your money somehow implies that people either can't control themselves, like they have to pre-order the game, they can't read reviews for it, or they're not smart enough to do that. And I don't like either of those explanations. People should just buy the things they want, don't buy the things that they don't like, and market forces will correct that. However, there's an opposite side to this rule of taking things seriously. It goes the opposite way. And I've mentioned this before. When I decided to go into making games, I had a lot of people go, oh, yeah, that's perfect for you. That's wonderful, including my mom. She said, I was in the middle of working on my PhD. I had gotten the master's and I was working on a PhD in computer science. And I said, Mom, I think I'm going to stop and go make games. She goes, yeah, I can see that. That's you. Other people, friends, other family members, other students, my own PhD thesis advisor were like, oh, you're wasting your life and you've wasted all the time you've put into this and you've wasted some of our time too. And, well, funny enough, move forward a few years and cut to this same professor coming to me to ask me to teach a class at that university. But another argument I've had people say, and people have said this on this channel, is why aren't you doing something more valuable for society? Why aren't you curing disease or feeding the hungry or any of the other things you could be doing that's a lot more valuable to society than making another game, or as I put it, making a computer go beep boop? Well, this is the classic, why did we go to the moon when we hadn't cured the common cold? And there's so many things wrong with viewing things like that. But all I can say about that for me is, one, my skill set is not in medicine or agriculture or anything else. It's pretty much programming and storytelling. And I played a lot of games, and I love making mechanics. In fact, mechanics to me is a lot like programming. So if those are the things I'm good at, shouldn't I do things that people enjoy that stem from my skill set? I think that just makes sense. But the second thing is, I don't want to live in a world that doesn't have art or music or games of any kind just because diseases and hunger and poverty still exist. It's a form of extreme utilitarian philosophy to make that argument that as long as you could be doing something that improves the world, you shouldn't be doing these other things. I recently read a book by Michael Schur called How to Be Perfect. Michael Schur is the guy who made Good Place, which I absolutely love that show. Which, by the way, a lot of good philosophy lessons in that show. But a good example of the problem with utilitarian philosophy is that's true for everything. You could take it to an extreme and say every dollar that isn't buying you food and shelter should be put in, you should be giving it away to charity, to people less fortunate than you. Every minute that you're not working or sleeping, you should be doing something for charity or for people less fortunate than you, because it would make everything better. The problem with that philosophy is it takes into account nothing about your needs. And I'm saying needs here, not just desires. Some people have a need to do things that they enjoy. Sure, they can do other things, but after a while, that's when you burn out. That's when you have a midlife crisis, or for some people, a young life crisis. And that's bad. So I wanted to do these things. I wanted to make these games. I had a bunch of games in me I wanted to make. Just like I think the generation before me had movies they wanted to make. And the generation before that had the great novel they wanted to write. That was in me, and I wanted to get these things out. So I feel like I did that, and that's good. I don't want people to take my work over seriously. Like I've said, I don't want them to use it to belittle or exclude other people. But at the same time, I don't want them to just write it off as a frivolous activity. I think I can say I left the world a better place than the one I entered. I think I left the game development world a little better than when I entered. And I think there are games coming out. Whenever I see a game mention that they were inspired by Fallout, I'm like, yes. So, Reykjavik, I hope this answers your question. Yes, games can be taken too seriously. And the flip side is people working on them can also be belittled too much. I think both of those are extreme views. And I think what we should instead do is be grateful that there's people out there making fun games for us to play. And at the same time realize there are games. We can have fun. We can deep dive. But at a certain point, they're games. Move on. Anyway, Reykjavik, I hope that answered your question.